Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today I'm going to be showing you guys something that's been around for a while, but it's definitely one of my favorite tumblers I love to do in my own shop. We are going to be making this beautiful Northern Lights tumbler. This is an extremely easy project. I know you guys got this, and I know your customers are going to love it as well. So let's wake up, prep those tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. I'm starting out with a 30-ounce modern curve tumbler that I purchased through the Stainless Depot, but please feel free to use any tumbler you have on hand. I went ahead and prepped my tumbler and I just spray painted it black. Whatever black you have on hand will work just fine. My epoxy that I'm using today, I'm actually going to be using Amazing Quick Coat Epoxy, and that is by Alumilite. But again, you can use any type of epoxy you have on hand. The Amazing Quick Coat Epoxy, for those of you that don't know, is a quick dry epoxy. You can pretty much work with it after 3 hours, I would say. So I'm going to go ahead and put a nice thick coat of that onto my tumbler right here. The reason I am using more epoxy than you normally would, was so that way those glitters have room to kind of mix together and you are able to kind of layer them one on top of another. Because if you only did a very thin coat, you wouldn't really be able to do that. So the way that I like to do it is add more epoxy than usual. Make sure you have a nice, medium thickness coat of epoxy going on your tumbler, so that way all those glitters have room to shift around and kind of lay down and do what you want them to do. Now, if I had to give you actual measurements, because I know some of you like actual measurements, because this is a 30 ounce, I probably used 5 to 10 mLs of epoxy on this just to make sure there was enough for everything, like I said, to shift around. So now that my tumbler is nice and coated, you want to make sure it's nice and coated top to bottom, so that way those glitters have something to stick to. So the first thing I'm going to do before I put it onto my turner is I'm going to go ahead and do up the bottom. I like to use a black glitter. I'm using black diamond here today, but again, you can use any type of glitter you already have on hand. Now this is going to be the bottom where the trees kind of rest into once we get to that part. So I'm going to go ahead and do up the bottom because I like to do it off the turner, so that way I can position it just right to do that. Now I'm going to go place it onto my turner here. Now, while that is turning, I'm going to go ahead and show you the glitters I'm going to use. I'm going to be using lemon, I'm going to be using taffy, and these are all like neon translucents. I'm going to be using ice. I'm also going to be using Vinca, which is a green, but it actually turns purple on a black base. I'm going to be using a metallic, which is sapphire, and for the stars, I'm using Stellar. And all of these glitters come from my glitter shop, socglitters.com. But again, any type of glitters you already have on hand that you know look well on a black base, please use that. I like to use the spout side of my glitter, so that way I can have more control over the lines that I want to do. So as you can see, the basic concept of this is you kind of want to spill it like that, is you just want straight lines and you want them all in the same direction. So no matter what glitter you put onto this, as long as you do it in the same fashion, you will get that look that you are after. So when I go around it the first time, all I want to do is just kind of give it a light coating, just kind of figure out where I want everything to go. And it's okay to leave some black patches visible of the paint underneath, because again, that will just help everything kind of mix together and melt together and just further accentuate all those swirls and stuff that are happening at the top. Now, as you're working, I want you guys to always remember there is no right or wrong when it comes to making art. You are doing an amazing job and your artwork is beautiful. Now again, as I'm working, I'm just constantly remembering to go in that same direction with every single glitter that I use. And all you want to do is just layer all those glitters right on top of each other, completely around. So I'm going to take some pink here. I'm just going to sprinkle that here and there. And again, that's all you want to do. It is as easy as that. Now you will see as I work here that those glitters just start to pile up onto each other, and that's perfect. That's exactly what you want, because then you're building up those layers and you're just adding more depth to this tumbler. Each one of these are going to be unique and beautiful in their own way, just like you are unique and beautiful in your own way. Now I'm just going to speed up this process just a little bit, just so that way you guys can kind of see what exactly I do here. It is just very simple. Again, just constantly keeping in the same direction every single time I apply a different glitter to my tumbler, just making sure it all goes in that same exact direction. That's all you want to do. Like I said earlier, I really enjoy using any type of neon type glitters for this. They really show the best on those black bases. Now, I did end up adding a little bit of a different color that I didn't show you guys in the beginning. I'm going to add some neon orange to it as well, just to give it a little bit more depth as those glitters start to kind of pile up, because we've just been doing little bits of glitter here and there just to add that character and slowly build up our base here. So now we're going to really start layering on these different colors to kind of give it just a little bit more depth. And don't forget, whenever you're adding these glitters, that the sky doesn't end at the top. You want to go all the way to your horizon, which is the black base, with your glitters. So that way, if anything kind of peeks through those trees, it will really look like that Northern Lights look. Okay, now that I'm happy with how my base is looking so far, everything's in the same direction, everything looks beautiful, I'm going to go ahead and start applying my stars. Now, just like doing the base, I'm going to take my stars, I'm going to pinch them in between my fingers, and I'm going to make them in straight lines as well. And I'm just going to do kind of a light, almost like tracing out where I want the stars to go. And then I'm going to come back through and I'm going to fill them in really well. But the key to this is just keeping them in that same thin, tight line, swirling around your base, exactly like the fine glitters that you just applied. And just like the fine glitters, you want to make sure you come all the way down into your horizon line with them as well. Now I just kind of let everything sit for a little bit and just kind of melt together, and I kind of see where I might want to add just a little bit more color. So I give it about 5 minutes just to kind of let it do its thing. Then I'm going to come through and I'm going to add just a little bit more glitter here and there, just a little bit more stripes. You can never do wrong with more glitter, right? Now I went over to my glitter shelf and I'm adding just a little bit other colors that I have on hand. This is mango, and I'm going to add a little bit more of my taffy, which I was using earlier as well. Now again, because I used that Favorite Epoxy, the Alumilite quick coat there, I only need to let it sit about 3 hours before I add my second coat of epoxy. So I'm going to go ahead and let that cure for 3 hours, and then we'll move on to that second coat. All right, here she is, ready for that second coat. Beautiful. I love how these glitters just they almost look like they're glowing. That's how vibrant they are on this black base. It's crazy how those translucents do that on a black base. But I went ahead and I gave it a nice coating of my 2x Ultra Semi-Clear Gloss by Rust-Oleum. I just do that so that way once I apply my epoxy, sometimes those glitters have a tendency to wick away the epoxy, causing fish eyes. And again, I'm going to use my quick coat epoxy so that way I can hurry up and get my decals on. So I'm going to go ahead and put a nice coating of epoxy on this. Then I'm going to hit it up really good with my torch before I put it onto my turner. And I will be back to put my decals on in about 6 hours with this epoxy. Okay, let's talk decals. So here I am. This is what I look up when I look for things, okay, guys? I wanted to show you because I like to use very realistic things like palm trees and regular trees. All I do is I look up pine tree vector free, and you can look up decals that way, or you can simply go into Etsy and do the same thing where you can look up pine tree SVG, and you can do it that way as well. Now I have this into my Cricut design space here. I'm going to show you guys the size that I like to use for these 30 ounces. I like to use 2 different sizes. So the first one is going to be a little over 3.5 inches. And then the second one here, let me pull that one over. I did about 4 of those. So 4 around, 4 big ones, and then 4 little ones in between. And the little ones are almost 3 inches. So they're 2.9, a little over 2.9. So that's exactly the sizes that I like to use when I go to do this. Now I found this really cute decal here, Believe in Yourself. And I like to kind of cut any type of decals that I'm going to have at the very top. I like to cut them out in kind of an opal looking vinyl so that way they look like they're kind of glowing in the background. That's what I like to do. And then of course the trees are going to be in a black vinyl, so that way they look like a silhouette. And as always, I will make sure to put everything that I used today into the description box below if you guys want to use these items as well. Now this is 6 hours later, and I'm able to handle this tumbler and apply my decals. It's pretty crazy. I'm so addicted to this epoxy right now. So the first thing you want to do after you get it off your turner there, you want to clean up your rim. You want to do that after every single time you do any type of epoxy. You want to clean up your rim really good. It just makes it so much more easier in the end. So after it's all clean, now we're ready to add our decals. Now you may be wondering, do I need to sand the outside? You shouldn't, because we used enough epoxy where everything should be nice and flat against your tumbler. It should be nice and smooth, but if you need to, please sand it as well. It's not going to hurt anything. Go ahead and give it a sand, and then we'll apply our decals. Any type of sand marks will completely go away once you apply your last 2 coats of epoxy. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bigger trees and I'm going to lay them down first. I'm going to take this first big tree here. I'm going to lay that down. Then I'm going to completely flip my tumbler around just like that and put another big tree on the opposite side of that tree. Then once I have these trees all laid out, there we go, I know what I'm saying. Once I have these trees all laid out, I'm going to go in between those trees. I'm going to flip it on its side here, there we go. And right between those 2 trees, I'm going to put that tree, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip it and put another tree on the opposite side of that. And then we're going to come through with our smaller trees and just place them in between each one of those big trees. Now I want you to think about when you go outside at night and you look up at the stars and you see the tree line that you can see from your backyard or wherever you may be. And I want you to notice that it isn't perfect. The tree line isn't perfect. And that's why I've always done it this way. And if you haven't went outside and looked at the stars lately, maybe you should. The silence of the night, the stars in the sky. Sometimes you just need that peace, and that's why I enjoy so much doing these tumblers. It brings me a little bit of peace every single time I look at one of these. All right, enough sappy stuff. Okay, anyways, now once you apply these trees, you may be like, well, you can kind of see the outline of the other tree on top of the other tree. Don't even worry about that. The great thing about these darker vinyls, there we go. The great thing about these darker vinyls is once you apply that epoxy, you're not going to see those outlines of the other trees on top of the other trees. They will completely melt together and look like one piece completely around your tumbler. Now I'm just going to take the warmth of my hand and make sure all those little edges are completely flat. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply my other little opal decal here. Now, I chose this decal because I hope all you guys always remember to believe in yourself. I can't stress that enough. Believe in yourself. You guys are absolutely amazing. You are doing a fantastic job, and you're going to totally be amazing at your small business. I know you guys got this. I'm going to put 2 more finishing coats of my UV resistant epoxy, which is Alumilite's amazing plus line. I'm going to go ahead and put 2 more coats of that on there, and then she is ready to go. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching this tutorial today. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.